All right. So we'll make a start. I'm really excited about bringing you this presentation today because over the past 25 years of my experience in selling consulting services in my own businesses and in the previous businesses that I've worked in for other employees in consulting, selling has been probably the biggest challenge of the lot. And not only, selling once we get an opportunity, but actually getting the opportunities to sell. And what I've discovered along the way is that process has been challenging for a lot of other consultants as well. And now working with my clients in consulting services, I find that many of them have a similar challenge, and maybe the biggest challenge, according to a survey done by Hinge Marketing, says that 85% of all professional services firms say that client acquisition is their biggest challenge. So I don't think any of us here are alone in that area. So we're going to talk about how to acquire more premium clients consistently and predictably with less personal effort and expense. So maybe hands up if you'd all, if you'd like to achieve that. Yeah, good. Right. So what we're going to cover in the training will be, first of all, the challenges. So as I mentioned, the challenge of, first of all, getting the opportunities, but also then the challenge of converting those opportunities into clients. We're going to look at the problems we encounter, and we're going to look at what I term strategic authority, and also the attraction marketing system that I've developed over the years that has been the key to achieving success in this area. Now, you might be asking, who am I and why listen to me? So to introduce myself and answer that question, I'm the founder of Business Flight Path. But over the past 25 years, I've started, scaled, and sold 3 professional service firms. But that's not really the important part of the process. The important part that you'll be interested in is that initially, the biggest challenge I had was around client acquisition, how to get sales opportunities, but then also how to convert those opportunities into paying clients. Now, you might laugh at this, but when I first started selling consultancy services, my success rate was 1 out of 13. So that means that every 13 sales appointments I went to, my conversion rate over the whole first year was 1 out of 13. So you might be scratching your head now and maybe thinking perhaps you're in the wrong place. Who's this guy teaching me how to sell? But the reason that you should stick around is that over the course of a few years, I learned, I developed my skills, I developed this process, which enabled me to start to sell at a rate of 2 out of 3 opportunities. So the good news is that with this process, it took a real novice, an accountant guy. When I first started off, I was an accountant, very shy person, had no idea how to sell, never expected to be in a sales role, but found myself having to sell my services and initially sell the services of the firm I was working for. And that was just a shock to find myself in that position and really have no idea. But because I had a passion for what I was doing and a passion for helping my clients, I stuck at it and applied myself to learning how to sell effectively and also bring in opportunities to sell with clients that were better quality clients. And I think part of this equation is that we want to look at how do we get better quality clients as well as more clients consistently and predictably. Does that make sense? Show of hands if you want better quality clients. Yeah. I think that is really a key part of this process, because what we often end up with as, excuse me, can I just ask everyone to mute, just in case? If you do have questions, pop it in the chat box, but just so we don't interrupt the flow. Yeah, I appreciate being on mute. So, yeah, better quality clients is a big part of this equation as well, because in a lot of situations, when we're not that critical or not that discriminatory about the type of clients we bring on, and often when we're in the position of needing more clients, we're willing to take on almost any client. But what I've found over the years is that not every client is a good client. And often when we're not bringing in quality clients, we end up working with clients who are disruptive to our processes. They can create challenges in the way we work with them. They cause us to reinvent the wheel in how we work with clients. And because they've got slightly different needs and they want everything tailored to their situation. Has anyone experienced that? Can I see show of hands? I can't see everyone here, but maybe if you've experienced that, put a 1 in the chat box just so I know that we're on common ground here. Has anyone experienced working with the wrong type of client for them, or that they weren't an ideal client? Okay, no one has that. Oh, yes, Sharon. Yep, thank you. Imogen, great. Yeah, now I can see a few coming through. Yeah, so it's a key part of this process to get quality clients as well. So after the 25 years of being in business now, some of the things I've been able to achieve in that process, as well as having the opportunity to sell 3 of those practices, I've also published 3 books and appeared in numerous media outlets, and being able to talk about what it is that I do, and being able to help my clients in their particular field. So welcome to the people who have just joined the webinar. Haven't been able to say hello to you yet, but we're just getting started. We're on the way talking about how to acquire new, good quality clients more consistently and predictably. So let's look at the challenge that I see really applies to most of us in selling our services. And that challenge is basically there's a huge barrier between us and our potential clients. I'm in the way a bit there. There's our friendly client there behind my head. So typically we know that we've got exactly what we need to solve our clients' problems, but the client doesn't know who we are. They don't know our company or our organisation. They don't know our products or services. They don't know what we stand for as a company. They don't know anything about our clients or our customers. They probably have very little idea of our company's record, and they don't know of our reputation. Now, what we're talking about here is probably a little bit different from when we get a referral. Now, with a referred lead, there's a lot of that information that's already filled in by the clients or the person that's referred us. But there comes a time in trying to grow our businesses when we want to acquire clients through our marketing to go beyond the limitations of just waiting for referrals to come through. And these are the ones that are more challenging sales to make. It's being able to break down that barrier or get through that brick wall so that our clients know all of these, or the answers to all of these questions that they have, so that they're ready to buy what we have to offer. So the real challenge in marketing our consultancy services is to go from being untrusted and unknown to being the accepted authority. We often start out being a commodity or being regarded as a commodity. When we're undifferentiated, we're not able to show our differences, and we want to end up being the preferred solution to our clients. We also tend to suffer from random marketing, and often with our workflows, we end up with up and down cycles where we're busy one month, maybe quiet the next, because we don't have consistent marketing that's attracting our clients consistently and predictably. And we want to turn that into an attraction marketing system so that we have consistent, regular opportunities coming up to be in front of us to make sales and to be able to work with clients at a higher level. So right now we have a choice, or at the end of this presentation, we'll have a choice about which flight path you're going to choose. You'll perhaps continue to struggle with the outdated marketing and sales methods that you may have been using. And typically what I find in the market, that most consultancy firms and most consultants are really struggling with client acquisition because they're using outdated methodologies. Even some of the new technologies around social media and online marketing are quickly outdated, and we can continue to use outdated systems and processes because we don't really know any better. And I think one of the challenges that we have as consultants is that we're really good at what we do in our providing our services, but how many of us have actually been trained to be salespeople and to sell effectively? And even if we do get that training, what I've found is that the training and the information about marketing consultancy services and selling consultancy services is really lacking, because most of the trainers come from areas outside of consulting, and particularly sales trainers are professional salespeople who sell all the time, every day of the week, as it's their only job. But as consultants, we don't sell full time. We don't have the opportunity to develop sales skills and to learn how to overcome all the objections and have 15 different closes that we're able to use to convert clients. And most of us don't have the sort of personality that we even want to do that. Who of us wants to, to be a slick salesperson? I think that for consultants, we care about our clients. We care about the results that we achieve with our clients. We're not great at selling as such. So we have the opportunity to learn how to do it differently and to eventually get in a position like I was able to do, transitioning from those old, outdated methodologies to be able to soar and achieve great results by using a more effective system, a strategic approach to marketing and selling, and a process that really matches with our clients' needs, instead of being based on old formulas and models that maybe used to work one day but don't work anymore. So what I'm going to talk about ends up with being a pathway to successful client acquisition. And it's also a pathway to move from stuck and struggling in your marketing to having a business that's profitably growing, because you're able to acquire new clients consistently and predictably by attracting them rather than hunting them down. And that's often a syndrome we get caught up in as well, when we're hunting for clients instead of being able to attract them effectively and efficiently. And at the end, I'm going to talk briefly about a new program that I'm working on. Just then let someone else into the room. I'm building a new program, or in the process of development at the moment. They'll be launching later in the week, that really reflects this process. I'm not going to talk about that a lot, but just to introduce the fact that I am launching a new program. I'm not here to be selling you on this presentation today. It's really about the information that will help you. But I just wanted to mention that I will be launching a new program. So if anyone's interested in that, you'll have the opportunity to talk to me about that. So our biggest sales challenge, I find, is moving people from a situation of apathy, not caring really about what your products or services are offering them, to a state of urgency where they're keen and even desperate to get your help. Now, typically, before our clients know what we can do, they're apathetic. They don't really have much interest in who we are or what we do. And if we're trying to get sales meetings with people in that position, it's very challenging. In fact, rarely will we get the opportunity to talk to someone who's apathetic about what we do and apathetic about making changes from where they are. It's only when they're in a position of feeling that they urgently need to change and that they need to escape from the problems or the pain that they're feeling, that they'll really want to buy our services. So in our marketing, we need to be able to influence that process. We can't really, we can just wait, but if we don't have a process to be able to influence clients to move into that position of urgency, we'll be waiting a long time and really have a very ineffective sales process. So what I want to be talking about from here is how do we influence that transition of our clients from apathy to urgency and be seen as the authority in the market in helping them on that journey. So problem number one, as we've already mentioned, is how do we move from being unknown and untrusted to becoming the accepted authority? Really, the problem is that people don't buy from us, even if we know that the solution we have for them is the best possible solution, that they can work with us to achieve results and overcome their problems. The fact is that typically they don't believe us. If we're telling them what we think they need, there's no basis of them believing us. They don't have a basis to believe what we're telling them. They maybe wonder if it will work, even if it will work for them. And potentially they may not actually be able to pay for the solutions that we're providing. And that's potentially a barrier that we will come across that we need to address in our marketing. And what I've found is often that people who say they can't afford it, when they really understand the value of what we offer and the transition that it can achieve for them, a transformation it can achieve for them, they will find the money to pay for it. Just imagine telling somebody that, we know there's a lot of gold on the block next door to where we live, and there's so much gold there that we can't use it all, and we're offering it to them. The only issue is that they'll need to buy some shovels to be able to pick up that gold. And can you imagine someone saying, "Oh, sorry, I can't afford a shovel"? That would be a ridiculous situation, wouldn't it? Even if they're broke, they will find a way to buy those shovels to get at the gold. Now, that's really the same situation that I see. When people understand the value of what we can do for them, they will find a way, even if it's not in their budget, even if it's maybe more expensive than they were hoping for, they will find a way to fund our services when they understand the value that we're able to offer them. So we need to be able to communicate that value to them, both in our marketing process and our sales process. But really the key issue of why that doesn't happen, why we're not able to communicate that value so often, is there's just fundamentally a lack of trust. They don't see us as trustworthy, and we need to take responsibility for building trust in that relationship. We can't expect that people are just going to trust us without putting in place the right mechanisms to build trust. Now, typically, this is what I see in the way that most consultants try to establish trust, or start out with their marketing. And this was a random website that I chose when I did a Google search of consultants in Australia, and came up with this website. So I've scribbled out of their names to protect the innocent here. But typically, I looked at a number of different consultants' websites, and they all had the same structure. Basically, what the website is saying is, here's who we are, here's what we do. Now, have a think about your own website and tell me if it's any different. And maybe put in the chat, is your website different from here's who we are, here's what we do? The basic message fundamentally is your website any different from that? Okay, so far I'm not seeing anyone saying that that's any different. And I think generally this is what our websites are about. And I was no different until I learnt different. Okay, yes, it also has testimonials, that's great. But yeah, it's typically, testimonials are a help, but we'll look at, the whole reason that this is a wrong approach is, thanks for being honest, Sharon, this is not relevant to our clients unless they're really ready to buy. Now, even that, in this case, say someone is in a position of thinking they need a business plan, they might stumble across this website and say, oh, these guys do business plans. Let's give them a call and get them in to do a proposal. Let me introduce a concept here that makes sense of this approach and why this approach is not the most effective approach of marketing our services. I want to introduce the buyer's journey, or what I've called here the buying spectrum. And what we find with the market in general, there's a spectrum of different positions that our potential clients will occupy. And if we start at the pointy end, we've got typically around about 3% of any market that's ready to buy. Now, at that point, they're pretty much already have made up their mind what they want. They've done their research, they've looked at potential options, and they have decided, here's what we want. And if that's the time that they go to the website and find the website that says, we do business planning, and they want a business plan, then they might call you to give them a proposal. But typically, because they're Googling, how do I get a business plan, they're coming up with a number of different options. And as we've seen, the websites are basically all saying the same thing. So they'll come up with 3 or 4, maybe 5, 6 different providers of business plans, and they'll call every one of them and ask them to give them a proposal. And we end up in a situation where undifferentiated, we're giving them proposals where they're checking us out, don't really know who to choose from because we're all saying the same things and all providing the same service. And typically they're going to pick the cheapest price. Sometimes we may be able to influence that. If we're pretty good at selling, we might give them some other reasons to think through and give them another reason to buy from us. But often if we're in a position where they're calling us for a proposal, we have to sell through that proposal, and typically it'll be the cheapest price that wins. Now, we don't want to be in that situation as a consultant. That's not a safe place for us and not a really great place to be. So how can we change that situation? And really it comes back to the way people buy. And I think this is where this diagram here is helpful, because no one wakes up any particular day and says, I need to buy a business plan or whatever your service might be, without first having gone through this process of becoming aware of a need. They're struggling with a particular problem. They're challenged by something going on in their life or their business, and they start to worry about that need, and they start to talk about it with their friends or maybe their colleagues and say, have you experienced this? Do you know what to do about this? And then they go on a search for the solution. They start going to Google. They start looking online for, how do I solve my problem? Then they'll narrow down some options. They'll see some things they like, things that are informative. They're educating, they're learning about how to solve their problem, and they start to identify the sort of solutions that are going to work for them until they're at that point that they're ready to buy. So my question is, if our websites and our marketing is only focused on that ready to buy group, which is what this is who we are, this is what we do, is all about, is if you want our business planning, here's where to get it. If that's all our marketing is doing, we're missing out on a huge opportunity, because we are able to have more influence and build more authority, more trust, if we're able to intercept our clients on that buying journey much earlier in the process. Let's look at some facts and statistics here. According to Forrester Research, 70% of the buyer's journey takes place before a salesperson's involved. 75% of B2B buyers use social media to research vendors. 74% of buyers choose a sales professional and company that was first to add value and insight into the buying journey. And in 2014, LinkedIn did a study of 5,000 buyers in leadership positions and discovered that 92% of buyers want to deal with the sales professional who is known to be the thought leader or the authority in their industry. So we've got some clues here as to where we need to be focusing our marketing, because it's not at that pointy end that is the most effective. It's earlier on in that buying journey. If we're adding value to that search that our clients are going on, if we're able to provide them with education, with information that adds value to their search, not only do we get more sales opportunities, but we build our level of authority. We build the level of trust that they have in us by us providing them value through that process, not by trying to sell them. That's a different proposition. We actually have to move away from selling in this process. The funny thing is that the less we try to sell and the more we give value, the more people will want to buy from us. People find sales objectionable. We all have that natural resistance to being sold. So if we stop trying to sell ourselves and stop promoting our services and what we do, and start adding value by providing information and education to people along that buyer's journey, we'll have much more success, because they will start to see us as the authority, see us as someone who's an expert in what we do and want to know more from us, and eventually get to the point where they'll want us to talk to them about how we can help them. So Other research that's been done here has discovered that 90% of professional service buyers check out a consultant's expertise online before making a decision. Did I see a hand up there, David, or are we just scratching your head or something? If you have a question, put it in the chat box.
Just scratching my head.
Okay, no problem. All right, so on one hand, we've got our buyers checking out online who we are and do we have solutions for them. But the problem is that 80% of potential consultants put themselves out of the picture straight away because of the lack of their visible expertise, because we're not providing that information and education that our clients need through that buying journey. If all we're doing is saying, here's who we are, here's what we do, then we're really part of the invisible crowd. We're part of that unknown, or we're not doing anything to address that problem of being unknown and untrusted. So the answer is really, how do we bridge that gap? How do we become the visible authority? And that is by providing that information and education our clients need to make sensible buying decisions. So is there a shortcut to trust? Well, we've got a couple of different options here. And obviously probably the most untrusted person in the world is the used car salesperson. Well, we don't want to be like that. So we don't want to look like these characters. We don't want our sales approach to resemble anything like pressure selling. On the other hand, we've got the medical professionals who are almost automatically trusted. They have a presence, they have a demeanor that builds trust. They have an approach that builds trust. So the shortcut to trust, in my experience, has been to emulate the doctor in our sales and marketing approach rather than the used car salesperson. So it's all about positioning yourself as the authority. And authority positioning is about having real or apparent authority over others in a way that inspires or demands obedience and emulation. Now, there's been numerous experiments around trust, and there's, if you haven't heard of Stanley Milgram, look up Milgram's experiments into the result, or let me say, the result of his experimentation was that people are almost automatically attuned to trusting people in authority, almost without question. Is anyone familiar with Milgram's experiments? No, Google it and find out. It's well worth reading. But when you read that, you'll understand how automatically we tend to trust people in authority. So, and that's probably because we grow up trusting our parents. You know, they're the first authorities that we know. We grow up with trust in our parents. Then we go to school and learn to trust our teacher, another person in authority. We trust the police as we grow up, and their authorities in our lives. And as we've already looked at, we tend to trust our doctors as authorities in our lives as well. So authority positioning, if we're able to put ourselves in a position of authority in the minds of our potential clients, we also build trust as part of that process. So authority, or strategic authority particularly, is the strategic process of systematically positioning a person or an organisation as the leader and expert in their industry, community, or marketplace to compete at an outsized level with an outsized level of influence over all competitors. So positioning yourself as the authority, the whole purpose of it is to set up sales meetings with your clients so that they already see you as a trusted advisor and they're already predisposed to want the solution that you offer. Now, when you build a system to educate your clients before they invite you to a sales meeting, where your marketing is educational and informational rather than selling yourself and your services, you're giving the client what they want and what they need to make intelligent decisions. And if your marketing is effective enough, they already want what you have to offer before they bring you into a sales meeting or before you entice them into a sales meeting. That makes the sales process much more effective to start with. If you can get into a sales meeting with the client already predisposed to buy from you, then the sale is easy. So how do we set ourselves up to be seen as the authority in the market? And the normal advice that you'll receive is, create content, maybe write a book, write blogs or articles, create 150 posts a year on LinkedIn or Facebook, wherever the social media of choice is. Maybe become a speaker, attend National Speakers Association meetings to learn to speak and to get speaking gigs. Display your credentials everywhere. Offer testimonials. Show the logos of your media appearances. Now, there's nothing wrong with these, and as you'll have recognised, I have ticked the box on all of those things. But what I'm going to tell you is that is not enough to really attract quality clients to you effectively. We can do all of those things. We can be a prolific writer. We can be a great speaker. We can display our credentials and have all the appearances of authority. These are the trappings of authority, but they don't necessarily give you influence. I want to tell you a story about Pericles and Demosthenes. And maybe you've heard of these guys, but they come from around 400 BC, back in the days of the Greek wars when the Spartans were causing trouble. Now, Pericles was a great orator. He was the politician, and he was a great speaker. And when he would speak, the people would say, "Wow, what a great speech." Now, on the other hand, Demosthenes was a general in the army, and he wasn't really a great orator, but when he spoke with inspiration. And when he spoke, the people said, "Wow, let us march." Now, I hope you can see the difference and why I've told that story, because so much of the information I see on the internet, so much of the information I read in books provokes the response, "Well, that was interesting. That was a great article," or that was good. I learned something. But rarely does it inspire me to take action. But what we need to be the real authority in the market is to be able to create content that inspires action. Because unless someone's willing to take action on your advice, nothing changes. You won't get sales opportunities if people think you've written a good book, or if you've written a good article, or you've presented a good webinar. You only inspire action when you inspire the need for change. Now, hopefully that's what I'm doing on this webinar, and inspiring you that there's a benefit of changing and you need to take action, because without action, nothing changes. So my advice, instead of doing all those things, when you do those things, you need to, first of all, know what you stand for and what you stand against. You need to be dedicated to a cause worth supporting. You need to have a clear purpose to make a difference for a specific group of people. Now, people like Nelson Mandela is a great example of this. he had a cause worth supporting. He knew what he stood for, and nothing was going to change his stance. No matter what's pain and suffering he went through, he stayed the course. He kept saying the same thing. And his dedication to the cause created a following that built and built until there was a groundswell of people supporting his cause that changed the whole political dynamic of his nation. And not only that, propelled him into leadership of the nation. When you start with a cause worth supporting in your marketing, you have the opportunity to inspire people around your cause, and that inspires a following. Now, someone who's done that in a business setting, someone like Steve Jobs, who's quoted, Simon Sinek quotes Apple in his Start With Why speech as the key element of this, and the start with why, the cause that they're supporting. Be a thought leader, challenge the status quo, and share your opinions confidently. As Steve Jobs said, the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones that do. So be willing to challenge the status quo. And this is the biggest lesson I've learned, is don't just follow the crowd. Don't just do things the way that your competitors do them. Don't do the generally accepted approach that your profession takes. Step out of that crowd. Be someone who's willing to be different, lead the pack, and challenge the way things are done, and create your own pathway to making the changes that your clients need to make. And the third example of this is to do this in a way that's systematic, in a way that is really a proprietary process. And Ray Kroc, who really transformed McDonald's into the business that it's become through the systemization and the approach he took, we need to do that not only in our service delivery model, but also in our marketing. We need to systemize our marketing in a way that it really attracts our premium level clients consistently and predictably, so that they're coming to us already pre-sold, ready to buy when we get into a sales meeting. But what happens when we get into a sales meeting? If we've done all that great work up front, we can still lose the sale because we're not effective in our sales meeting. We can actually undermine the authority and trust we've built up by conducting that sales meeting ineffectively. So my solution that I've found works, and remember, I started as a very shy accountant with no knowledge of sales and marketing. I found that what I needed to do to bolster my ability was to create frameworks and to create processes and systems that I could follow, because I had the security in the system rather than the security in myself. My security and confidence in myself grew when I knew I had a framework to follow. So the framework I've used in selling is to position myself as the authority, own the agenda in the meeting, win their trust, educate, and recommend. So using a process like a doctor's consultation is really the framework that this follows. So when we look at that, positioning yourself as the authority is about establishing your authority by utilizing the assets you've already delivered and capitalize on the knowledge that your client needs you more than you need them. Be the savior, not the servant. That's a stance we need to take in our sales meetings, to start off with that authority. Then we need to own the agenda of the meeting. We need to assert our authority by setting the expectations for how the meeting will run and the outcomes that are expected, not by letting our clients take control and going into a meeting and say, what can I do for you today? And let the client run the agenda. We need to have a set agenda for how that meeting is going to be run and assert our authority in that process. Then we need to win their trust. And we do this by diagnosing the situation and conducting what I call triage. So again, operating like the doctor, not selling, not trying to talk about what we do and how we do it, but by diagnosing the client situation and gaining a deeper understanding of their problems and the need for change. We need to ensure that they feel understood before we try to get them to understand what we do. And particularly, they need to understand the impact of doing nothing and the advantage of fixing the problem, so that we're highlighting the urgency of change. Then we can educate them. At that point, we describe and demonstrate the potential options they have and the value of those options. And finally, we can recommend our prescribed solution to their problem. And because of the process, we can expect compliance with our decision about what they need to do. So a couple of clients who've been through this process with us, Damien Battersby said that in 12 months, we've seen an almost doubling of our turnover. And with that, obviously, our profitability has gone up as well. We've got a new strategy for our clients, and we're looking at becoming the market leaders. Shelley Thompson, also a leader in her field now, says that with Greg's help, what I've been able to do is redefine my approach to attracting new clients. I'm constantly surprised that the potential clients are driving the progress prior to working together rather than the other way around. So to finish off, what I want to do is invite you to take the advantage of spending 60 minutes with me at a strategy session where we dig deeper into your business situation, your sales and marketing processes, and we'll look at how I can support you, give you some on-the-spot tips of how you can improve your sales and marketing so that you can start to be seen as the authority in your field and to be seen as someone that can be trusted so that you're able to acquire new clients consistently and predictably. So I'll pop that in the chat box there, just so you can click on that link. Whoops, that's the wrong link. Okay, we'll go this way. Okay, there's a link to click on to go to that page to schedule a strategy session with me. But what I'd like to do, if you're not in a hurry to rush away, is just open the floor for a few minutes for questions and answers. So I'll stop the screen share and let's anyone who has a question come off mute and yeah, feel free to ask away, and I'll see if I can answer your questions satisfactorily. Anyone have any questions or comments about what we've covered today? Okay, Narelle, nice to have you on the call, and look forward to speaking to you on a strategy session if you like that.
Thank you, Greg.
Okay. Okay, any questions? Any comments? Anyone like to share anything they've learnt from today? No, got a very shy bunch of consultants on board, have we?
Hi, Greg. Can you hear me?
I know, yes.
And sorry, thank you for allowing 2 copies of me to join this meeting.
That's fine.
And, yeah. Okay, I do have a question.
Yes.
So, Greg, you know, with your special sales system, does that involve any special tools, or is more a process?
It's more about a process. Yes, there are tools that we use as part of the process, but I think one of the big factors that that is worth mentioning in here is that this is a process of acquiring clients and attracting clients without having to spend a lot of money or a lot of effort.
Yes.
So it's about systemizing a process, and there are some automation tools that are valuable in that process. But it's Okay, thanks to the guys who've got to go. Appreciate you being here. So there are some tools that we will build as part of the process, but also some automation tools to utilize the other tools that we build. But it's really a process of that's inexpensive to operate and a huge value to our clients.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Greg.
Not a problem. Any other questions? Okay, David, no problem. Great to have you on the call. Okay, then if there are no other questions that I can see, no one putting up their hand, just jump off mute and ask if that's it. But if not, we might wrap it up.
Greg, I got a question.
Okay,
so you were talking before about people going on the websites, and I had a look at your website. And, people do go on and research websites. What, in your mind, do you feel they're looking for when they're going on there? What are they trying to validate in that process?
Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing that they're looking for is answers to their problems. They're looking for, how do I solve a problem? So the way that we need to start the conversation with clients is to start with their problem. I think the first thing the challenge that is the biggest one is, how do we get attention? We don't get attention when it's all about us, but we get attention when we make the conversation all about them. So if we're
say the problem is you're growing business and you want a business plan. So you know that you need a business plan because you're a growing business. Now that's a very broad scope. So there's
but let me challenge that assumption, because what you've just said is the problem is they lack a solution. But really they don't need a business plan. The problem is not that they don't have a business plan. The problem is more that their business has no direction. They're not achieving the results they want. So the potential solution may be a business plan, but their problem is
wouldn't
not.
they Google that though? Wouldn't they Google business plan?
No, they don't, because at that point they're looking at why can't I get clients, or why are my people not on the same page with me, or why are we struggling to make progress? They're not thinking business plan. They typically won't know what the correct solution is. Their conversation is all about the problems they're having rather than the solutions that they don't have or the services they don't have. People actually don't want our services. No one actually wants a business plan. They want the results of the business plan. Yeah, they want clarity about where they're going. They want a step-by-step task list of what needs to be done to make changes. So, you get that by going through the business planning process, but no one actually wants a business plan. So if we're promoting business planning, we're just not getting attention and connection because of that. But if we start off talking about what their problems are and inviting them to learn more about the solution to the problem, then we can provide that education and the information they need. So we need to be focused much more at that initial stage on the problems and showing that we actually understand them. It's much more important that the client feels understood than for them to understand what we're trying to do. And when they feel understood, then they give us opportunities to talk and to communicate and educate them. But without that, they're really not even interested. Just a question from Stuart here about what social media channels. Typically, the top ranked one, particularly if you're in a B2B space, is LinkedIn. I've used LinkedIn very successfully, and perhaps a lot of you have come on to this call today because of our connection on LinkedIn. So that one is particularly right for business to business, but it really depends on the circumstances and the situation you're in. So there are other social media channels like Facebook, obviously, is the big one. It depends on who your market is and how you're trying to use it. But in a lot of cases, it's not about the media, it's about how you're using it. And again, as we talked about, the difference between Pericles and Demosthenes, it's what you're saying rather than where you're saying it. That makes a difference. So hopefully that answers your question, Stuart. Tanya, did I answer your question effectively? I jumped onto Stuart's because it was there, and I hope.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just interested in your point of view. I don't disagree. I was just interested in your point of view.
No, great. Okay. Any final question? It's just on the hour, so we'll take one more question and then let you all go. Unless that's it, then we might call it a wrap. Okay, gone. All
Thanks for your time, Greg. Appreciate
my
it.
pleasure. Thanks for everyone being on the call. And if you would like to extend the opportunity, the invitation to jump on a strategy session call with me, then click on that link and schedule the call. Look forward to catching up. Okay, all right.
Thank you, Greg.
And we'll hope to see you soon. Bye.